to the second episode of Let Freedom Ring with Dan Bollier, a show that has real conversations with real people. This week, we have my good friend, Mack Wilson. Mack, welcome to the show. Coronavirus is going crazy. We're not going to shake hands. We're just going to dap.
Yep, dap it up.
Now, Mack, first part of the show that we like to talk about, we want to get to know who you are. So, Mack, where did you grow up? Where are you from now?
Good question, man. Thanks for having me on, first of all. Happy to be here and talk to all the ringers out there. And so I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, moved up to Nashville when I was 4.
Okay.
Pretty much lived my whole life in southern New Hampshire. I currently reside in Merrimack.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Charlotte is a great town. I do like Charlotte a lot.
It's one of those unique situations where even though I've spent most of my life up here in New Hampshire, like there's still that home vibe. Like whenever I go down to Charlotte, it's just a connection.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, yeah.
I love North Carolina as a whole. It's a great state.
Tar Heel State, man.
Well, I'm more of a Duke guy myself,
don't say
but
that, man. Don't
Coach
say
K.
That.
But
don't say that.
All right, Mack. What's now? We promoted the show earlier this week on Facebook, so kind of people know that you are a sports jersey expert.
Yes.
What's something else everyone should know about Mack?
So I would say not only my sports jersey expert, but I'm kind of a renaissance man of sorts.
Okay.
I kind of dabble in a lot of different hobbies. Like I like to draw. I actually create my own custom sports apparel.
Okay.
Primarily jerseys, like completely from scratch.
That's right, yeah.
So so that's a fun little outlet. And some people have told me I can carry a tune a little bit.
All right.
So, a little bit of everything for me. But I love sports, and that's part of what kind of fueled my passion for jerseys and led me on the path to becoming a quote-unquote expert on them.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I feel like you are because I think that one time I texted you because you know how much I love Pete Rose.
Absolutely.
And as much as I'm wearing the Expos hat today and how much I want to see the Expos come back to Montreal.
Absolutely.
So I would love to just drive up with, you guys, Tim,
the crew,
whoever. You told me that I think I want the pinstripe Pete Rose jersey.
Right.
He never wore it.
Never wore the pinstripe, no.
Okay.
At the time, they had a nice little number that was powder blue for the roads.
Okay.
Had the logo on your hat there on the chest, and kind of a unique, kind of like circus-looking font. And then they had a white home jersey, just home white, no pinstripes.
So do you know when the pinstripe was used? Or?
Pinstripes would have showed up probably in 93 or 94, I want to say.
Okay, so definitely not Pete Rose's
That
era
team that they had that had the best record in baseball when the strike came in 94.
Could have been champs. Pedro will talk about that all the time.
Absolutely, man. But that team, they were wearing the pinstripes at that time.
Okay.
It was a relatively new style. So
okay, because when I did say that to you and you sent it back, I go, how do you know that? But I was impressed.
Man,
very
I
impressed.
have a lot of information with that sort of stuff in my mind. So.
All right, awesome. Now, Mack, what do you like most about being an American?
Man, I gotta say it's probably just the ability to, find out what really is important to you, like whether it's religion or music, the types of shows you like to watch, like what you want to do for work. All of those choices are yours to make.
Yep.
You don't get told what profession you have to go into. You don't get told like who you have to marry or you want to be in a relationship, whether you want to be married or not. So it's just those types of freedoms that we have the ability to decide to kind of choose our path and how we live our lives. I think that's the best part about being American.
I like that answer. And I'm adding another question that I didn't have last week.
Sure.
What does being an American mean to you? If you had to answer, I know this is a tough question.
No, man, I think it's a good question. I think it's, in one word, I think it's just pride. Like the way that we come together during times of stress or struggle. It galvanizes us as a people. Like we're a melting pot. We have people from all sorts of like different backgrounds and cultures and races and religions, and we can come together unlike almost any other country that I'm aware of when we need to. And I think, in times like this, is, the days that we live in today, that sort of thing is important. We need to focus on that. And I think that's, to me, the best thing about being American and gives me that pride.
I gotta agree with you, and I love the diversity of this country.
Yeah, man.
I really do, and there's, like I said, I've said in other shows elsewhere that I think that's really important, and that's what makes us really American. Is there is no mold to what it really means to be an American.
Right.
We're all very different, and no, I love that answer.
Yeah.
Very, very well done.
Thanks, man.
All right, so we're going to go into our next part of the show, which is current events. Now, everybody's talking about it. We're dapping on the show. We're not shaking hands.
No shaking hands.
Just in case. I don't know if you're infected. You don't know if I'm infected.
We don't know.
Coronavirus. What do you think about this? It's in New Hampshire. We know it's in New Hampshire.
Man, 2 people now.
Or maybe
more.
We don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take on everything that's kind of gone on right now?
Man, I think, it's really important that people educate themselves on what's going on, because it's very easy to follow the news feed. I made a comment to a coworker today. We get a CNN news feed, and the top 3 stories were about coronavirus.
Yes, I mean, it's constant.
It's coming from all angles, so you need to make sure that not only are you taking those articles into consideration, but you're doing your own research, looking up what a virus like this means, who's being impacted, ways that you can prevent, getting this or spreading it, and being attuned to the warning signs too. If you do find yourself in a situation where you may have been exposed to it, so it's crazy right now, but you need to be aware of those things.
Well, I think you're right, and I do have a problem with the person in New Hampshire that was told to stay, 14 days inside, and they didn't. That's, I mean, I also felt like they weren't telling me had to. It was more of a suggestion, which okay, we're letting this kind of get out there. Mm-hmm. But I will say today, I watched a video by Sanjay Gupta of CNN fake news. I know a lot of people think that, but it's not. All of it. But Sanjay Gupta was talking, he was really breaking it down. I mean, this is really going to affect the elderly, people that already have other conditions and things like that. I really do believe it's going to become kind of like the new flu. It's going to be very similar. I think if you're going to a nursing home at this point, they're going to start asking more questions about, where have you been,
exposure,
how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think the hysteria of the country right now, or everywhere, but it, it's everywhere. It really is everywhere. I think last week when we did the show, when I was talking with Leo, I didn't think that the next week I'd be talking about it actually being in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
China, get on top of your things before you let this all, I think if they would have, got more on top of it, maybe it doesn't get this way. I don't know. But I do have concerns of the original Dr. Lee, I don't know his first name, he passed away from the coronavirus.
Correct. Yeah.
Didn't look like an old man.
And it's one of those things, I think, unfortunately, where he was shouting from the rooftops that this is an issue, and people didn't believe him. And now we've seen the spread, we've seen it affect different people, and now there is an element of people starting to take it seriously. And I think moving forward, it's going to be really important to make sure that people understand that even though they may not be exhibiting severe symptoms, they can still be carrying the virus.
Which is very,
and spreading it to those people that may have more severe reactions to it. So the fact that everyone is becoming more aware, I think, is a positive. We just kind of need to find that middle ground, like I was discussing with you before, finding the happy medium between drinking bleach and licking your nearest subway pole or escalator rail. We need to find that balance of taking it seriously, but also not like overreacting.
I agree, and I think life in general is a lot of area for gray area.
Sure.
And there's somewhere in the middle. And you're right, you do have those two extremes of, oh my God, I'm freaking out, to the person's like, I'm never going to get it. Right. I'll do whatever I want.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I think we both, two guys in our mid to late 30s, our parents are getting older, and that's a concern for us, for them.
Definitely.
It's a scary thing. Like I said, Dr. Gupta made me feel a little bit better.
Right. That's good.
But yeah. So that brings us to the next thing. The U.S. recently did a deal with the Taliban. Mm-hmm. It looks like that deal did not go well, as we've struck against them. What did you think of us reaching some kind of deal with the Taliban? I mean, I've always looked at it as we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
I still kind of believe that.
Yeah.
And I guess we didn't, in a way. Any take on that?
It's a tough situation, man, because like you said, if you go off of the doctrine of, we don't negotiate with terrorists, then, what are we doing? But at the same time, if it's in the best interest of the country and moving our security interests forward, maybe there is an opportunity when that could be the case. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure. Like, I don't follow the current structure or, initiatives of the Taliban, day to day, because my news feed's being bombarded by coronavirus stuff. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I know, ISIS has been a big player in terrorism recently. I'm sure Taliban still has a hand in it too. Yeah. But I'm assuming that whoever decided to try to make that deal saw some benefit, for the country and the citizens of the country. So
I think at some point we do want war in the Middle East to end. I don't think it ever will.
Yeah.
So it's tough to really say, whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, but obviously it didn't really work.
Right.
From what I understand, the Taliban did something at some kind of post that they weren't supposed to do. They already went against the deal.
They violated the terms.
Yeah. So,
right.
I mean, I guess.
Not like Antonio Brown, man.
Well, it doesn't take him very much. No, I just thought that was interesting in the news lately. I still, I do believe that we shouldn't I do look at them as a terrorist group. I don't think we should negotiate with them because they're not going to stick to the deal.
Right.
And why would they? They're not a state. They're not a country.
Fool me once,
shame on you.
No more deals for the Taliban.
No more. Sticking on current events, this one's a little bit of a more controversial subject. In Arizona, they have banned transgender girls from playing in sports, not only for high school, community colleges, and I believe, regular colleges as well. It's a hot button subject. What's your take on it?
For me, I feel like at those lower levels of athletic competition, people should be able to participate with the groups that they identify with.
Yep.
Irregardless of whether there's a transgender situation happening there.
Yep.
The issue that I have is when you deal with the higher levels, probably. I think there needs to be more thought and consideration put into that, because even when you get to the quote-unquote amateur level, you have Olympic athletes, you have other professional athletes that are making their living off of that particular sport. And it does become kind of a tricky situation when, you've got certain types of athletes, transgendered athletes, competing with, people that have worked their whole lives to try to achieve something, and it's maybe not an equal comparison. And I know that there are, certain medical ways that things can be leveled out, and it's just got to be some thought put into how that's viewed and what the rules are for certain competitions like that, because I just would hate to see a situation where someone, has worked super hard their whole lives to be a top achiever in a sport, and not to say the other person hasn't, but it's just not an equal comparison.
Yeah, I agree. And my other point to this is I do believe each state should be able to handle this however they want.
Sure.
And I do believe it was Texas where you had the transgender wrestler who was female to male, where in that state you have to wrestle whatever your birth certificate is. Now,
oh, okay.
So the wrestler was going through hormonal transition,
Exactly.
however that works, and just dominating.
Mm-hmm.
And people, my issue was a lot of the right were using that as an example to say why you can't do this. The wrestler wanted to wrestle with the boys.
Exactly.
Now, here in New Hampshire, wrestling is, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. You're all wrestling the same thing. So
Right.
each state's going to be a little bit different. I think there is a little bit of a gray area. I think it's a very complicated thing.
Very, very complicated.
I could see Arizona reacting this way to it. I don't know what the answer is. I know there could be an advantage, for a male going to female.
Right.
As far as high school sports, it is very tough. Now, when you get to old people like us, I'll play against anybody.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I do think the states should be able to figure it out. And Arizona took the stand that they wanted to take, and sounds like a stance that Arizona would take, if I'm just being real.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very complicated issue. We may talk about that more in other episodes of the show, because I know a lot of people want to talk about that. But at the end of the day, be whoever you are.
Yeah, man.
However you feel, however you want to be, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't.
Right.
In the whole scheme of things.
No.
Sports gets a little bit weird, but I think everybody should be who they want to be.
Man, if people see you for who you are and your authentic self, like that those people are the ones that care and that you should care about the most.
I agree.
And you ride with them, and people are going to say what they want to say, but those are the people that you need to focus on to kind of try to live your life the truest way possible. I thought the whole thing with Dwayne Wade's
hype that doesn't need to even be. People let Dwayne Wade raise his kids the way he wants to raise them.
Yeah. And I thought it was beautiful the way that his daughter came out.
Yeah.
And spoke her truth and talked about how.
Oh, when they were in the golfing? Yeah. I did like that.
I thought that was great. I mean, what maturity from, a child of her age, And
I thought, because I've seen a lot of backlash towards Dwayne Wade over that.
Of course.
Don't tell a person how to raise their kids.
Seriously.
I mean, that I really don't like that. I saw that. He can raise his daughter however he wants, his son, whatever.
Right.
Back off.
Yeah.
These social media tough guys and stuff that, I didn't agree with that. And you know what? If Dwayne Wade's daughter wants to, however they want to do it, that's their family's business. And you know what? If they want to put it out to the world, fine. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah, and it's her business too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wouldn't have done it if she wasn't comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think everybody gets bent out of shape over things that they shouldn't. I think we've talked about that, at least on the show in the first episode. Mm-hmm. Cancel culture goes on both sides.
Man,
it's not a right, it's not a left thing. It's both sides. Awesome. Well, we're going to move on to pop culture. Here's a movie that I think everybody should see, because I loved it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, we're not going to have any spoilers on this show unless the movie's dated about 20 years. This is not.
Right. Good buffer.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What'd you think of it, Mac?
I give it. I'm gonna give it probably 8.5 on the Mackometer.
Okay.
Yeah, I really liked the movie a lot. I thought Brad Pitt was completely deserving of his supporting actor role.
He killed it.
Crushed it.
Killed it.
Yep. Awesome. My favorite scene, or maybe not my favorite scene, but one of my favorite scenes in the movie is that little flashback sequence.
Which one?
When he's up on the roof.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a flashback sequence that he had an interaction with a very famous celebrity back in the day, and then it cuts back to him, and he realizes that everything that he was thinking about makes sense, and the courage that Tarantino had to make a scene like that, a flashback sequence that probably took 10 or 15 minutes of the runtime, and the way that he used it in the movie, I thought was like, I mean, you just don't see things like that in movies today.
I mean,
so it's very refreshing.
He's a genius, and he continues to do this.
Right.
I'd have to imagine he's in his mid to late 50s at this point, Tarantino. I don't want to give up, spoilers or anything, but oh my gosh, was it great. And you know what I did the next day? I had to, you know, I'm weirdly, I do like some of the serial killer documentaries.
Sure.
You know, I think a lot of people do. We're fascinated by them.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good thing with humans or not, but we are fascinated. And I had to look at a lot of documentaries on the Manson family after watching that.
Yep.
And my God, what a crazy story that was.
Crazy, man.
You
Like,
know.
and I thought it was interesting too when I talked to people about the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people that didn't care for the movie weren't familiar with the original story.
Really?
And I think that obviously with Tarantino's movies, if you don't get some of the historical context or satire that's going on, it can greatly detract from the story he's trying to tell.
Yeah, and it's tough to even explain this movie without getting into spoilers.
Yeah.
But I will say that Sharon Tate was on her way to being a superstar.
Yeah.
And to be, you know, things were different then. You could have easily found a celebrity's address back in that time.
Right.
Now, that ain't happening.
No.
I mean, I think people know where Tom Brady might live in New England.
Only because he put his house for sale.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
They can't identify whether he bought a house in Greenwich or not. So, you know.
But yeah, what a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it. You should see it.
Fantastic. Great year for movies in 2019.
Yeah, it was a good
Fantastic
movie. I mean,
year.
that brings. I mean, like we do want to talk about Joaquin Phoenix, who killed it as the Joker.
Also completely deserving of
know.
his award for sure.
I'm gonna say though that I still think Heath Ledger is the best Joker, but this was something completely different.
Yeah.
From Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, or anybody else that's ever played the role.
Right. And it's something that DC is trying to do with their, I think they call it their Black label for their comics.
Yep.
And it's a more gritty, real, dark kind of portrayal.
That's a pretty damn real movie.
And you know, I think the craziest thing about it is as the movie's happening and it's escalating and ratcheting up the stakes.
Yeah.
You know, once again, in the world that we live in today, you're saying to yourself, especially with some of the stuff that happens in the news, you're like, you know, could this happen? Like, could this actually happen?
Yeah. I mean,
and it's you know, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when I saw the movie, I was actually sitting behind someone who was completely disgusted with the movie after it finished.
that was a lot of takes on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm assuming. Did you have a conversation with them? Or
No, I let him do his thing.
Let him be
man, I
upset.
wasn't gonna talk to this guy.
Yeah.
But he made some comments about how, you know, like after watching the movie, he should do X, Y, Z. Like he did not think very much of it. I was shocked.
We've seen some crazy things happen in this country.
Yeah.
And that movie might make you. I think you're right. You're like, could something like that happen?
Yeah.
Because it did touch on mental illness a little bit.
Yeah.
And that is something that I feel like as a country we haven't taken serious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into the gun debate right now because that can, you know, we could go down a road forever on that.
Sure.
But mental health is a major issue. And
Huge.
that movie kind of touches on it. Now that goes back, that movie's set in the 80s.
Right.
But I mean, moving away from that a little bit, Joaquin killed it.
Oh yeah.
Deserved what he got as an
Absolutely, man. Like to watch his progression and transformation into the character of the Joker.
Yeah.
And to the point where it starts to kind of spiral out of control. He was masterful in that performance. I mean, you can't take anything away from him. He was excellent, you know?
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. And did he win the award before for Walk the Line? I'm not sure.
I think he was nominated.
Okay.
I can't remember if he won or not.
I can't remember. Look that up. But he killed. I mean, he was Johnny Cash. He really was Johnny Cash, and he is a fantastic actor. And I hope they do a sequel. I know a lot of people don't want to see that.
I think they will.
I want to see that character.
I'm
again.
almost positive it'll happen.
I'm fine with sequels being bad. In my opinion, I'd rather go see it. And
I'm the same way. You got to finish what you started.
Yeah.
You see the first movie, you got to see the second one, the third one, you
well,
know?
Well, which kind of brings me to my next point.
Yeah.
A movie we started together, Rise of Skywalker.
Yes. Yeah.
And we don't want to give spoilers.
No spoilers.
I think you should see it. What did you think of that movie?
I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, like, you have to go see it. You have to.
I agree.
You know, and we all know, if you follow the movies at all, we know the challenges that it faced from a directorial perspective. Yep. We know how they didn't have a clear set plan when they entered this last trilogy.
There was no roadmap.
You know, like flying by the seat of your pants is, and I think, you know, they did the best they could.
Yeah.
While giving quite a bit of fan service. But also kind of tying up the storyline as best they could. And, you know, I like some of the characters that they introduced in this trilogy, and I'm really curious to see whether they come back, you know, in future, you know, future shows on Disney Plus or the movies. So I'm really excited about the Disney Plus stuff, though. I think that's a really good... you know, avenue for potential stories to come up down the line.
Well, I agree. I think in the Star Wars universe is going to blow up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I want to talk about my favorite character, Kylo Ren.
Right.
If anything came out of these three movies for me, it was Kylo Ren.
Right.
He was my favorite Star Wars character now.
And Adam Driver was fantastic.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's always been good in anything that he's in. And for me, probably my favorite character at this point. I won't go into anything else about that.
Right.
It's tough to talk about movies without spoiling them.
Yeah, it's an acquired.
It really is.
Yeah, you have to cultivate it and nurture that quality. Yeah.
You really have to
over time.
Because there's so much I want to say that I know that I can't say.
Right.
I want people to watch the show. I want them.
Well, I mean, we got to tease it though. I think we've done a really good job of that.
Well, I will say in my life here, I've spoiled something that really upset a lot of people.
Really? What did you do?
Walking Dead episode. It was I forget what season it was, about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh,
and I'm gonna spoiler alert. I haven't watched this new season.
I've never seen any of them, so anything you say is a spoiler.
Okay,
for me.
I posted on Facebook without really thinking about what could actually happen on Facebook.
Yeah.
Was I'm never gonna live this down. Glenn died on the show.
What, dude? I just told you I'd never seen the show.
Yeah. Well, now you know.
God, man.
And I posted something on Facebook about it. I didn't really think anything of it. May have been drinking a few beers during football that day. I don't really know.
That'll happen. You can't give reviews while you're drinking.
Well, I wasn't really even a review. I was just very sad that Glenn died, and I had posted about it.
Right.
And the amount of hate that I got on that, not only on that post, direct messages that I got, unfriended by a lot of people.
Wow.
So,
they hit you with the unfriend?
Oh yeah, people that and people that I was. Well, I'm not going to unfriend you, but I'm going to unfollow you. So spoiling it's a sensitive subject for me,
right?
And it's very hard.
Hey, but you're really focusing on it now. That's growth.
Well, I have. It's taken 4 years, taken a lot of maturity. I had to be 35 to really realize
you're growing, you know?
that you shouldn't do that. But to everybody that I spoiled the Glenn dying in Walking Dead, I do apologize. It's been 4 years. Let it go.
Let's focus on the loss. You know, we really should be focusing on Glenn's life that he lived.
Glenn was a great character.
R.I.P. Glenn.
R.I.P. Glenn. And we're gonna move on to the next segment. Let's talk some sports, because you know what? You're a sports guy.
Hey, let's go.
And each week I'm gonna post to Facebook and let people ask some questions. And really, when I said Mack was a sports jersey expert, the questions started lining up. First question from my buddy Dave Galeo. Top 5 sports jerseys of all time.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is a hard question to answer.
I can imagine.
Because you've got the classic jerseys that you feel like other future incarnations of jerseys couldn't have existed without.
Yep.
But you've also got the kind of out-of-the-box, crazy, quirky jerseys that come up that are like, oh, that's pretty dope.
Understandable.
So, I mean, I think when you're talking about the classics, you look at kind of like cornerstone franchises in all of the sports. So, baseball, you've got your Cubs, your Red Sox, your Yankees, your Dodgers. They've got iconic elements in their jerseys that just kind of, you see it and you know immediately that that's the team you're talking about. Then you've got other teams that seem to change their style
a lot.
Yeah. Maybe they're not bringing in fans at the gate, so they got to sell the merchandise.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I think that stretches into football. I think you've got teams like the Cowboys, even the Steelers a little bit, although they went a little bit more futuristic, like in the mid-'90s. The Raiders, the Packers, the Bears, pretty consistent styles and pretty consistently, like I said, early standing members of those professional leagues. The NBA, it's really been a shakeup, in the last 10 years or so. But I still think teams like the Lakers, the Celtics, even the Bulls, they haven't really moved a lot from their, jersey style in almost our lifetime.
I love the black Bulls jersey.
The black one. Are you pinstripes or no pinstripe?
Pinstripes.
Pinstripes all day.
The only thing I don't like in pinstripes is the Yankees.
So I got an interesting jersey factoid for you, the super jersey nerd factoid. So in the 95-96 season, I believe, is when the Bulls adopted the pinstripe jersey. Jordan's first year back from his baseball sabbatical.
So there's a 45 probably that was made.
No, it was the season following. So it was first full season back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, good clarifier there. So his first full season back, and they wore them for 3 years. I think starting in his final season, 97-98, they went to a black jersey, looked exactly the same, just no stripes.
Okay.
The reason they dropped the pinstripes, according to the Bulls equipment manager at the time, was because the fabric that they used to, it's a process called sublimation, which is like direct-to-garment printing.
Okay.
The fabric that they used for that was heavier. Okay. And the players didn't like that.
I don't blame them.
So Nike had a mesh dry fit material. They were the production, the people in charge of the production of the jerseys in that year. They made just a regular black dry fit mesh that was more comfortable to the players. So one thing that comes up a lot in the jersey community, you hear people bellyache a lot of times, when there are changes made, people don't like change. Yeah. And so Nike recently became the supplier of every major sports league except for the NHL, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they're still with either Adidas or Reebok, but basketball updated their jerseys, and it's made out of a super lightweight material, recycled bottles, and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. But the bottom line is they're so focused on player performance that they're always changing and adjusting the jersey fabric and what they're making the jerseys out of to be more comfortable for the player. And a lot of times fans don't like that. They want stuff that feels heavy and quality. And so,
see, I'm more on the other side. I'd rather something be light.
Yeah.
I mean, the one Patriots jersey that I have official stitched and everything.
Yeah.
Wasn't Aaron Hernandez.
Yes.
I can't really wear that anymore. I do remember the times wearing that. I didn't really enjoy it as much as those old Reebok jerseys that were just very light, throw them on.
Right.
Now, we have a lot on sports. What is your favorite jersey of all time?
Favorite jersey of all time? Man, that's such a loaded question. I would say this is just for me personally, and my connection with it, I have to go one of two, but it's got to be either a home Atlanta Braves jersey, because
I do like the Braves.
That was my squad when I was a kid, man.
I know
my
what that's
grandfather
like.
used to take me to games, and it was actually the first authentic jersey I ever owned was a authentic Dale Murphy Braves jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then the second would be the home pinstripe Charlotte Hornets from the early to mid 90s. because once again, North Carolina Charlotte connection. Like I would go to a lot of games, and that was my squad back then. So.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I always liked the Braves because on TBS you could watch them every week. So me and Tim, we grew up on the Braves and the Red Sox, but the Braves a lot. But I went to Charlotte out of school, so I bought a Charlotte Hornets hat.
Hey.
Was it Larry Johnson?
Larry Johnson, LJ.
Yeah, Juana Man or whatever.
Grandma.
Sorry,
Grandma
Juana
Man.
That was a whole nother
React
movie.
Juice.
Yeah. He was great. He was a great player. I was happy when the Hornets came back. I would love to go. I went to a Bobcats preseason game in like 2009 because I was in Greensboro for a little bit.
Right.
And they were playing in Greensboro, I should say. But yeah, I'm glad they're back.
Actually went to the first game back in Charlotte for the Hornets.
Oh, really?
When they came back, yeah.
Hey,
Kemba Walker, now Boston Celtic, obviously, hit the game winner in that game against a young Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And people are, we'll get into this another, but people are trying to say he's better than LeBron. I'm not quite there yet or sold. My buddy Benny Bover, call him Little Benny in the softball community, wants to ask, why does Ray Allen still have beef with the Big Three? So many years later. Benny, you're very right. I don't understand why this continues.
Now, I'm under the impression the beef really exists with the other members of that 2008 team. So they basically were not pleased with the way things went with Ray Allen when he decided to leave the Celtics and sign with the Heat in free agency.
I don't think anybody was happy about that. Fans weren't. Players weren't.
When you look at that team, one of the many things that made them great was the chemistry that they had. Like those guys were family tight.
Boston is a brotherhood.
Absolutely,
That's what it was.
That's what it was, and like they viewed Ray Allen as part of that brotherhood. And when he left, it wasn't just the fact that he left, because I don't think any of them would have begrudged him going out and trying to get his money and joining up in a good situation in Miami. But the way that he did it without reaching out to anyone and joining the enemy at the time.
They were.
It's a situation similar to what went on when Durant left Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Except Ray Allen was on the downswing of his career.
He was in the prime like Durant.
Exactly.
Was,
but I think that's why there's beef, because those guys, they looked at that as like kind of a betrayal, like not only are you like kind of leaving out the back door, but like you're not telling us you're going out.
Yeah.
And now you're over there hanging out with LeBron and Chris Bosh and D Wade and trying to beat us.
I had a big problem, not a big problem, I guess, but a little bit of a problem was Ray Allen should have been there when Pierce's number was retired.
Right.
He should have. Instead, he was golfing with George Lopez.
Right.
I'm a Ray Allen guy. I'm a Paul Pierce guy.
Sure.
The Big Three should. Life moves on. They all got to move on.
I think it'll be interesting. Like one thing that could kind of smooth things over and kind of show that like time heals all wounds is recently came out that they're going to retire Kevin Garnett's jersey.
Yes. Wow.
And his number, I think
like
it's
that.
well deserved.
I like that.
Because he brought back Celtic pride. Like I have an autographed Kevin Garnett picture in my living room.
Yeah.
And I chose the inscription Celtic pride because he brought it back.
He did.
He was the first person to bring it back and really, Paul Pierce too, but I mean,
he needed those guys.
He showed that passion, and I feel like it brought Pierce's level up to just another level. But I think the real test will be if they ever decide to retire Ray Allen's jersey.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
Yeah.
I know there was even debate about whether they should have done KG, but
we're running out of numbers.
True. That's another problem.
We're
the
running
first
out of
one to
numbers.
have triple digits for a basketball number.
I'd have to imagine the Yankees and Celtics are in competition for who can retire the most numbers.
Yeah, they're up there. They're fighting it out.
So
I've been to North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah.
The Dean Dome.
Oh,
is
really?
Similar to that. Whole top
just banners
is
of numbers,
littered with numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy about Garnett getting retired. At the same time, I said, do we need to retire any more numbers?
Yeah. I'm going to be in the building for that. I got to. KG's my guy.
All right, grab me a ticket. I'll go with you.
All right, word. Sounds good.
I'll go with you. I bet Rob and Tim will want to go, too.
Perfect.
All right, so that brings me back to Mike Bollier's question, and we're just kind of hit this. We won't explain too much about it.
Yeah.
But he wants to know your favorite player outside of New England.
Yes.
For each sport. For the NBA.
All time or current?
All time.
All time. NBA, Michael, Larry Johnson, or Kevin Garnett. Those guys.
Can you guess mine?
I know yours.
Who is it?
It's Scotty.
Scottie Pippen, baby. That's always going to be my favorite player.
Yo, Scotty is your man.
When I was growing up, everybody loved Jordan, but I love Scotty.
Yep.
Favorite NFL player?
Jerry Rice.
Mine's Brett Favre. I always respected Brett Favre. After the Monday Night Football game that he had against the Raiders when his dad died, that solidified it for me. I really like Brett Favre.
Right.
He's done some sketchy things post, but we'll get over that.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you gotta appreciate the guy for what he does on the field. You know,
exactly.
Like you ask for your favorite player, you gotta judge him on what he did on the field.
I agree, and brings us to MLB.
Major League Baseball, man, is tough. But as a kid, as a youngin', Dale Murphy was my guy. But then as I got older...
I love the Dale Murphy reference, too, by the way.
Love it. Get him
Absolutely
in the Hall.
love it.
We need him in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
After that, it'd probably be like Frank Thomas or Griffey.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as you can see, I got Mark McGwire right here.
Big Mac.
McGwire was always my favorite. I modeled my baseball stance off Mark McGwire.
Really?
And when I was
nice and open.
when I was a $120
yeah.
playing for Pennachuck in Nashua, I was able to hit home runs out of that giant field.
There you go.
Not many, but I was able to.
Yeah, man.
My other was obviously Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, Tony Gwynn, a great
guy
ball
was a hit
player,
machine.
Man. Yeah, definitely.
I felt heartbroken when he died.
Oh,
I really did.
That was tough.
R.I.P. Tony Gwynn. We loved you. We did.
Great, one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Just unbelievable.
Yep.
NHL.
I'd have to say either Messier or Roenick.
Okay.
Those were my guys when I was younger.
For me, Brett Hull.
Brett Hull's a great choice.
I mean, can you top that haircut? I mean, that guy. When I think
party in the back, business in the front, man.
When I think of hockey players, that's what I think of a haircut.
Of course.
I think they all have that
haircut. It's the official haircut of hockey.
Bring us to the next question from my friend Josh Patton. Why buy a jersey when you can get a team player shirt? I know this probably offended you a little bit, Mac.
No, I understand it actually. I've actually
it's more for your value, maybe? I don't know.
So I was excited to answer this question because I think that it depends on who you are as a fan. Like for me, one thing that really resonated when I first went to my first games when I was a kid, I started to notice differences between the stuff that they were selling in the fan shop and the stuff that the players were wearing on the field. And I grew up in the catalog era where you had wear what the players wear.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. I wanted to wear the same exact stuff that the players that I watched on TV were wearing. And man, once I got the first one, I told you that Murphy jersey, that was it for me. I was like, this is crazy. Sewn on letters, it's heavy. I look just like my favorite player. Yeah. So from that point on, man, it was that's all I wanted was that. And then I just started trying to get I got a Jerry Rice one, and then I got a Jordan to round out my favorite athletes when I was a kid. So
I love it.
Yeah. But I understand the player shirt, especially today with free agency and trades. And
that's I think Josh's point. I think he's saying you're going to invest in a jersey,
right?
And they could be gone. I think that also makes more sense as we get older and say, how do we really want to spend our money?
Right. Exactly.
I'm with you though. I do love jerseys. I will buy the player T-shirt. Depends on who it is.
Right.
It really does. On time reasons, I have just simple answer. For my buddy Chris Derby, what's the most obscure jersey to hold in value?
I think it's guys that either a fan base really appreciates that maybe the wider sports fandom doesn't. So when you look at the Patriots, you've got guys like Troy Brown, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis. Any Patriots fan can rattle those guys off and understand how important they were. Whereas the larger group of people, Kevin Falk is another guy, the larger group may only think of Tom Brady. But if you have those jerseys to Patriots fans, they're super valuable. Yeah. Because they see everybody wearing a Tom Brady jersey, rightfully so, but maybe they want to be a little different. Maybe they want to support a guy that, did a lot for the team but wasn't the marquee star. And then you've got other situations where you've got, maybe people that are notorious for one reason or another. Maybe like Pat Tillman is a good example of someone.
Is that a valuable jersey, Pat Tillman?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because people that want to show American pride and pride in the military, who better to represent that than a guy that, sacrificed his life, doing that.
He quit football to serve.
Exactly.
I mean, that's incredible.
He was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he made that sacrifice for the freedoms that we have.
It's hard to really think of another player that did that wasn't in war, like like Ted Williams or.
Sure,
did Willie Mays go overseas? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but those were in extreme times of war.
Right.
Tillman could have done it. There was no draft. There was no World War.
He did it voluntarily.
Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit.
But I've also had situations where people have asked me for, a Hernandez or a Ray Caruth, and I had a guy ask me for a Ray Caruth one time. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So, obscure, but still generate interest in people. Like Len Bias Celtics is another one that I don't get.
That makes me sad to talk about that.
He never even played for the Celtics. No.
Is there one that's more valuable than another?
I don't know. I think those unique player jerseys that aren't like the stars are probably the ones that have the most value, because if you're a real big fan of those teams, sometimes you're willing to pay a premium, and they're more rare.
Okay.
Because they tend to make the big name players. They don't make like some of those underdog stars. So
I think people do want those. I mean, what's the emergency goalie there that?
Right. Yeah.
I kind of want to wear that too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Can't think of his name right now, but that's kind of cool story.
Yeah, like every man's hero type stuff.
Hey, you played a pro sport. I think he was a minor league player at some point, but still, it was in the fact that the Maple Leafs still lost.
I mean, they'll probably make a movie about it at some point.
I could see it.
Right.
Get Tarantino to direct it.
Right.
Could you imagine?
Will Ferrell is like the lead, maybe. That'd be hilarious.
Moving on to politics now. You got the Barry Sanders jersey on.
Yeah.
I love it.
This may or may not have been an accident.
I love it. So to start this, recently Garth Brooks was playing a show in Detroit.
Right.
And Trump supporters, and I know I'm hard on them, but sometimes deservingly so.
Man. It's hard to support him on this.
They thought it was a Bernie Sanders jersey.
Right, 2020, they thought the number
How do you live in Detroit, Michigan, and think a Barry Sanders jersey, can you not fix stupid? I don't know.
Man, and it pains me because Barry Sanders, especially for someone our age,
oh my God, he
was like a gift.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about arguably the greatest running back in football history.
I didn't get it. I was very, when I saw that and I saw the social media outrage. And I don't mean to just rip Trump supporters, because you could have Bernie supporters that are blinded by stuff. It's really just the individual.
Right.
But my God.
It's crazy, man. I did thoroughly enjoy the Twitter memes, though, of Barry Sanders with Bernie Sanders.
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
Superimposed. I mean, the internet won completely on that.
Garth Brooks has never given a dime to any political campaign ever.
Right. And they were ripping the guy.
Garth Brooks.
Right.
It was mind-boggling. I do think that there is a point where people need to stop being so brainwashed on stuff.
Right.
And you follow these political candidates, or you follow the president, but you got to think for yourself at some point.
Sure.
It's not all, there is a gray area. I'm not saying I don't like President Trump. I'm never going to like President Trump. But don't be a sheep.
Right.
On either side. Think for yourself.
Right.
And that's the problem that we're running into.
It was just like they smelled blood in the water and just immediately went on the attack without even stopping to think about, wait a minute. Those colors resemble the colors of the professional football team that play in this city.
That was pretty bad. I hate to say that that's what we're talking about when we come to politics today, because there's so much more going on. Obviously, Chris Matthews left hardball. He's got some issues going on there. Obviously, in the Me Too era, which I agree with, if he deservedly so, he's gone.
You can't say that sort of stuff.
Super Tuesday. Were you shocked that now it seems to be that Joe Biden seems to be the guy now that Democrats are running with?
Right?
Yeah.
They're rallying around him, man. You know, like once Klobuchar and Buttigieg dropped out, it was clear that the establishment seems to be trying to, choose one candidate over the other. And I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Sanders, I think.
I think it is. I don't know. A week ago, I would have said it was Bernie.
Of course.
This week, I'm like, it looks like Biden.
The way everything's set up, it was just like one domino fell after the other, and it ended up in a landslide for him on Tuesday.
I think it tells you that the Democratic establishment is still running the show.
Sure.
They are still running the show. It's Biden who can barely get through an interview.
It's tough.
Can barely get through a debate. Can barely, Joe Biden, and nothing against him. Bernie's just as old, but he seems to have it more together.
Sure.
Biden's seen some trauma that others haven't. His son, Beau, dying. That was, no one ever wants to see their child die.
Of course not.
So I don't blame him for not running in 2016, but it also feels like, Joe, maybe it was time to ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And instead, he's probably going to keep riding on the campaign trail.
And there was talk that maybe he could have Obama be his running mate, which I think would be kind of funny. And I think there's a complicated thing with the Constitution there and whether Obama could do it or not.
Right.
But I would say that ticket, we would get, because there's always been this rivalry between Trump and Obama. Mm-hmm. Created by Trump.
Of course.
I don't think Obama would ever have said anything about Trump back in those days unless Trump was going after him. But could you imagine Obama on a ticket versus Trump?
I'd be down to see it.
That would be the war to end all wars in election.
I think that'd be good.
Because I think they both get their. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
But I think they both have such a base.
Of course.
People love Obama, and on the other side they love Trump, and there's like this weird section that loves them both. Mm-hmm. It's probably better for everybody, but.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see for sure.
But overall on Super Tuesday, any takeaways?
To me, that was the biggest one for me, was that realization of the Democratic establishment has decided who they want to back here.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to give the stiff arm the Heisman Trophy to Bernie,
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it plays out. I think they have a debate next Tuesday, and another big election in Nevada.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how it goes.
I would say Bernie supporters at this point, if Biden does win the election or the nomination, you either got to decide what you want to do or not.
Right.
You can't cry about it. You have to accept it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to vote, don't vote. But don't try to smear the other side at this point because, that's the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is the Republicans will still go to each other.
Right.
They'll bash each other in the primaries or whatever. And then when it comes down, even Ted Cruz, who Trump just ripped on his wife, Ted Cruz at the end of the day goes, I need these guys. Mm-hmm. Trump is great. You know what I mean? For some reason, and I don't know what the real answer should be, but the Democrats don't do that. And they can lose because of that.
Exactly.
That's going to bring us into our next segment, blank versus blank.
Oh,
so Matt,
here we go.
I'm going to give you 2 words. You got to pick one or the other. Football or baseball?
Man, if you had asked me this 10 years ago, I'm going football all day.
Really?
Football all day.
Okay.
If you had asked me when I was a kid, 10 years old, I would have taken baseball.
Well, you're a Dale Murphy guy.
Dale Murphy guy,
Ron Gant, Terry Pendleton.
Ron Gant, Terry Pendleton, man. But I'm boycotting baseball due to the fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame, Dale Murphy, and the Astros cheating scandal. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the Astros. They deserve to get hit. They do.
Yeah.
Magic or Bird?
Bird. But I love Magic too. I love basketball.
Do you think Bird was the better player?
I actually do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so close, and they were both so important. But Larry at his prime he was so good.
Okay. All right. North Carolina or New Hampshire? You're a North Carolina-born boy.
Man.
You grew up in New Hampshire. Which one?
I got to take New Hampshire, man. The
my
majority
man.
of my family
We'll
is
dap
here.
again,
My friends are here, dude.
Love that answer.
But I still have a lot of love for North Carolina, for sure.
All right. Bernie or Biden? If you had to pick.
Man, I mean...
You got the 2020.
I don't know how can't take Bernie with the jersey I got on. You know, like, what does that make me look like? But I don't know, man. Like, Biden, to me, hasn't just been that impressive when I've heard him speak and watch the debates. So, and I don't necessarily agree with everything Bernie says, but I don't know, man. I feel like if you do want to see a good election, I feel like that's the best opportunity to see it is if Bernie gets the nomination.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
90s or 2000s? Early 2000s, the first 10 years.
Oh man, I'm taking 90s all day.
Yeah.
Like the
90s.
basketball uniforms were crazy, you know, like, and the shows were good, sports were good.
The 90s were really good. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
We were young to experience it.
If you missed the 90s, I feel sorry.
Well, you
for
graduated in 99, right?
99, yeah. Class of 99.
I'll ask you this because I know you wanted this question.
Yeah.
Jordan or LeBron?
Oh, man. I got to take Michael.
All right.
I gotta take
I would
Michael.
too, I guess.
And you know, I really feel like LeBron doesn't even have an argument unless when he beat the Warriors down 3-1.
That was unbelievable.
That helped his
Unbelievable.
legacy.
We got it right there.
Helped his legacy.
Loved it.
Because it gave him a signature moment.
Yeah.
He had never really had a signature moment in a big situation.
Yeah.
And that gave it to him. And since then, he's grown so much as that type of player.
Well, he said he'd always bring a championship to Cleveland, and he actually did it.
Followed through, man.
And I think a lot of people don't talk about that.
But Jordan's still 6-0 in the finals, 6 finals MVPs. He averaged 43 points a game in the finals against Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Who was the MVP
well,
that year.
He made it so Barkley could never win a title.
Exactly. I mean, he made it so everybody that played in the 90s couldn't win a title practically.
That's hard to
Unless you're
argue.
Hakeem Olajuwon, you know? And that's why he was playing baseball.
Favorite bully or brother?
Phew, man. That's
Putting you on the
tough
spot.
situation.
I would say me, but...
Dude, you know I have to go with your brother, Tim.
It's true. You guys go back a long time.
We go back a ways, but I'm very grateful that through our friendship I was able to meet all the Bollier brothers who are tied for second.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, Mack.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So that's going to wrap up this week, guys. Let Freedom Ring. Let us know what you think of these shows. We posted onto Facebook. And YouTube, obviously. But Mack, thanks again for coming on.
Found it out.
Take care. Let Freedom Ring. We'll see you next week.